Today we're diving back into my past. This horrible looking cartridge was recovered from my house fire. It's a superb game called Donkey Kong Junior, and not only is it melted, it seems to have been the victim of some vicious prizing. Yep, that doesn't look so good. As you can see, the card is completely melted and was actually on fire on one side. Our good friends over at PCBWay have kindly offered their 3D printing services. We're going to see if we can crack this cartridge open, somehow coax it into working, and somehow save it from its fiery fate right now.
Mark fixes stuff.
PCBWay are my trusted go-to for 3D printing, PCB production and so much more, and I wouldn't be able to deal with this if it wasn't for our friends at PCBWay. Right, let's crack on. First thing is there's some screws here under this label, so let's take that off and get the screws out. Even though this is burnt, it feels wrong removing it. Now I know where the second screw is, we can just dig it out easily. Labels were put over screws to prevent people accessing the internals of the cartridges when they were released in the 80s. But they're just self-tapping screws. Once they're removed, I get to prizing the cartridge case open as best I can, and I know that these are very difficult. The plastic's really strong and quite bendy. Even with half removed, the board is still trapped. I'm trying not to use any route where I have to prize against the PCB itself. It's already damaged and I don't want to make it any worse. The problem is the side is still gripped and the ROMs are trapped in a tray underneath. We need to get it out without causing any more damage. Maybe we can use a tool in here and twist it. Some parts are just crumbling. Nope, that's not going to work. Let's try the other end. No, I don't think that's going to work either. I think I need to get my grip. Desperately trying not to damage the PCB anymore, I snap away parts of the back of the cartridge shell. Until finally, I get to a point where I can lift out the PCB itself. Phew, that was hard work. And actually the PCB doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's obviously been in a fire. I thought we might need to transplant the ROMs because the PCB was too damaged, but we might be able to clean this up and pop a couple of shunt wires here. It won't be pretty, but it should work. Okay, I should have worn gloves for this. The bench is disgusting, the board's disgusting, let's have a tidy up. Although I feel weirdly bad about throwing this away. Let's put all the tools back, so I know how to find them next time, and then we'll have a quick wipe down. Well, I did say quick. I'd really like to recover this board for personal reasons. It would be one less thing I lost, but it's definitely too dirty to fix like this. Pa-dum, pa-dum, it's Kylie on the bench. My other ultrasonic cleaner is absolutely massive, so I got myself a small one and called it Kylie, because Kylie's quite small. That's literally the only reason I called it Kylie. To give Kylie a head start at getting up to temperature, I filled her full of hot water from the kettle. Then I topped her up with plain cold water. I've not splashed out for deionized or demineralized water here, because as soon as I put anything in here it's going to become contaminated anyway. With the temp at 65 degrees C, I'm going to run it for 8 minutes so it degasses the water before I add the PCB cleaning solution. To be honest, this stuff might be a bit too mild for all the soot, but I don't want to use anything that's too harsh. Sploosh. Oh, all down my fingers. It burns! It burns! Yeah, not really. I let the solution run a degas for a little bit longer. And then when it's ready, I take out the basket and pop it somewhere where it's not going to drip all over the workbench. The fluid temperature's over 60 degrees now, so it's quite warm. To be honest, I'm not sure if this is going to work. I should be so lucky. And with our board inside the fluid, I fire up Kylie. Initially I'll set the clean to 8 minutes, but I'll check it periodically. I've got to be certain that I'm not damaging the board any further. This was after 4.5 minutes. Let's pop it back in. After another 2 minutes I check it again. The soot does seem to be moving, but it seems like there's some residual pitting on the contacts themselves. Also, my large ultrasonic cleaner seems to be a lot more aggressive. Kylie isn't. Je ne sais pas pourquoi. After 8 minutes, the board doesn't seem nearly as clean as I'd like. The ultrasonic definitely works because I tested it with aluminium foil. I just think it's not as powerful as my other unit. So I just whacked it on for another straight 8 minutes. And I threw in the screws. Crazy. Maybe that was a loco motion. And after the second set of 8 minutes, it's as good as it's ever going to get. Ultrasonic cleaners aren't the miracle machines that everyone touts them as, but they are incredibly handy. After a quick wipe down with a cloth, I finished off the contacts by cleaning them lightly with a fiberglass tipped pencil. I'm wearing gloves this time because fiberglass pencils drop these tiny little shards that end up getting into your skin like cactus spines. I've made that mistake in the past, and if I could step back in time, I wouldn't make that mistake again. It actually hurts, and I don't want any more tears on my pillow. Yeah, there's definitely 2 broken tracks here. The third one has narrowly escaped any damage. So let's give it a test, but first we'll need to test the ColecoVision is actually working, because it's a bit grotty. Space Fury loads up, and the controller starts the game. Okay, that's good enough for me. Let's see what our broken cartridge does. I know we have the 2 broken tracks, but I'm curious. I'm planning some upgrades to this ColecoVision, including a new cartridge socket. Drumroll. And that doesn't look very good. It does get to the game select screen though. But pressing the button doesn't do anything. Number 2's dead as well. Okay, let's bridge where these 2 tracks are broken. As a sanity check, I like to trace out where the points go, and then using the meter I make sure I've actually found the broken track. Yep, nothing there. I also double checked that 3rd track, which had continuity. That was okay, so we've got 2 to fix. To start with, I'm not really sure how this repair is going to go, so I've initially blopped some solder on the nearest ROM legs, just in case I want to wire directly from those. And the wire we're going to be using is this 0.1mm diameter enamel coated magnet wire. I've kind of decided that I want to try and lay the magnet wire down along where the track was and then just tack it at each end. For that reason I've scraped back the solder mask so that I can see some copper on the track. Then I've wiped it down with isopropyl alcohol. Using my soldering iron, I then tin that track. I can't really see what I'm doing at the moment, so I know I'm going to get grief for my soldering skills here. But I'm laying the magnet wire down, holding the soldering iron long enough to melt the enamel coating, and then when it fixes I'm snipping off the end. So that's the 2 points joined. Yeah, it's ugly. I'll give you that. Let's just crack on with the other shunt. I can always come back and tidy these joints up if they work, and they probably will. With the advantage of not working around the camera, I can be a bit tidier as well. But I'm filming this especially for you. Sometimes I like to scrape the end of the magnet wire, it helps it fix a bit quicker. You can tell when the magnet wire is ready to go because the solder starts to stick to the end. And that's one sticky end. I'm not joking, this really is quite fiddly. I'm scraping back the coating on this track as well, but I might have to go to the leg of the ROM. No, there's enough there. The bed track takes the tin, and now to try and get the enamelled magnet wire to stick. It's stuck, but the flux kind of run out, it's all globby. It definitely needs revisiting later. I think I'm going to push this wire to the pin of the ROM and solder that in as well. I wonder if I've subconsciously put my hand in the way to hide my shame. I always worry what you're going to say. I can't get you out of my head. Right, no more mucking about, those 2 points are bridged. It's ugly, but I can come back with flux and fix that up a bit better. Yep, that's going to work, I think. I'm sure you'll all diss me in the comments section below, and feel free to do so, but this stuff is tiny. And when we fire up the multimeter, everything seems to be in order. So, that's a big thumbs up from me. I've retrieved the screws from inside our ultrasonic cleaner, thanks Kylie, and it's time to use the cartridge case from our friends at PCBWay. Confession time. When I sent the STL files, I sent them upside down. The front of the cartridge was actually on the print bed, which has given it a kind of a weird texture, but that's going to be under a label at some point anyway, so it doesn't matter. If anything, the label will stick better. PCBWay have done loads of 3D prints for me, and these are excellent. They're really tough, you can screw into them without any problems. I love that I'm using the original screws from the 1980s to put this back together. It just feels like a tribute to the original game. Greetings, Professor Falcon. Shall we play a game? Good lord, this ColecoVision's grotty. Well, straight away it comes up with the game name and no corruption. And the buttons work. Way hey! Amazing, I'm so pleased. What I'm less pleased about is the fact the ColecoVision controller is so historically naff. I was going to do a label in this video, but the kids have used all my sticky photo paper. So there's a few things to do. We need to clean up the ColecoVision. We can make a super game module, maybe. That would be good. And maybe sort out the video output. But yeah, thanks for coming along on this journey. I'm pleased to have rescued the internals of another cartridge. I actually feel really good about this. If you want me to make a label, then pop a comment below. Massive thanks to my amazing patrons who are appearing on the screen right now. How can I help you, Mark, I hear you ask? Well, if you want to help the channel, please come along to patreon.com/MarkFixesStuff. There's a variety of tiers where you can help me make more of this content. You'll also get ad-free early access to all of my videos. There's also semi-irregular behind-the-scenes content and posts. Right. Oh, what's the other thing I've got to tell you? Oh yeah, patrons get the supernatural ability to complete the entire of Manic Miner with their eyes closed. That might be a lie. Seriously though, if you could consider supporting the channel, I'd be over the moon, and I can make less videos about making chairs to pay the bills. Hashtag Pearl was innocent. Hashtag Free Pearl. Hashtag Justice for Pearl. Okay, 80s lyrics pop quiz. No googling. Artist and name of the track. Number 1. I wanted to be with you again and talk about the weather. Number 2. I stumble into town just like a sacred cow. And number 3. I don't want to spend the rest of my life looking down the barrel of an Armalite. I don't want to spend the rest of my days keeping out of trouble like the soldier says. Cool, that was a bit of a tortured rhyme, wasn't it? Cool, you're at the bit of the video where I insert mentalface.avi. That must mean you liked it. Or you're dead in your chair. Either way, I'm sorry for you. How many Kylie Minogue song titles did you spot in this video? Answers below. Bye.